Hey there, I'm back. Okay, well, I am going to try to draw something. Trying to do something a little different, trying to relax. Gonna try not to talk about the VA at all. So I'm gonna start by using a sketch that I had before. And what I'm gonna do is I am going to sketch out, and this is more because I don't have really good proportion control. So, yeah, part of it's no experience. It'd be probably easier if I had a microphone down in front of me, but either way, I'm probably just gonna kill the sound for this later anyway, so. Or I might even do one of those speed up things. Or I might actually just wait and see how this sounds. And I suppose I might even try to edit in the photos that I'm using for this. Might be interesting to look at. But yeah, the whole key for me is, you know, from the bottom of the nose, how high the eyes are, stuff like that. Those are kind of the keys. And remember, my Twitter bio says mentally crippled, so consider the source before you take my advice. But you should also remember to debate the actual words. Not that I'm here to make you debate anything. I'm just here to try and build up a library with a ton of hours so I can get some subscribers. And I might tell you some cool Marine Corps stories along the way. Oh no. Alright, well, I don't have a stencil here, but I'm thinking it's something like that. Alright, so can't really see much, and since I have only been here for a very short time, I don't really have anything set up anywhere, so I'm going to start with some pencils. I'm going to try and find the ones that are sharp, and my paint is all boxed up, so I'm just gonna use a box of chalk. I think I picked these up on Amazon, one of those little Christmas flash specials. Box quality and stuff's not bad. Chalk's pretty good too. Alright, and yeah, I'm gonna have to edit in like a JPEG or something of the photos that I'm gonna be looking at. And I'll pull up a photo in the background. So, what I'm gonna be looking at is my Marine Corps boot camp photo. That's the one people are, I think, most familiar with. I'm assuming like every time you re-enlist, they probably let you get another photo taken. So, anyways, let me go ahead and get started and we'll see how this is gonna look. Looks like I have the red background on that side. Yeah, let me get my pencil in lightly. That way I can kind of look up at the screen a lot less and actually get things going. So all I started with was took a piece of tracing paper, you can use any kind of thin paper, and I put it up on a monitor over my thing, and that really helps me with getting the proportions right. Because if I just tried to freehand it, then my eyes would be, you know, right on top of my mouth, and you know, it looked like I'm not gonna call anyone out, but it looked like one of those Photoshop jobs that gets called out on the entertainment little websites. Some of them get pretty funny. You tell when their people did it themselves instead of having their people do it for them. Alright, so this is not a pencil drawing, and I am estimating the size of my two heads, since my other photo has me with my glasses on. And the other thing is, I haven't really been painting long, but I've always kind of been, I guess, sort of natural. I actually tested out of kindergarten, and the thing that pushed me over the top was my ability to draw Charlie Brown, All-American Classic. Other than, of course, I went to Catholic school, and in first grade, it's the first thing that happens. You go in, all these new kids to play with, and they're all talking all this crazy stuff that they learned in nursery rhymes, like old ladies living in a shoe, and spiders, and people falling off walls, and I'm just like, man, glad I didn't go to kindergarten. You're all in the head. I don't know how to beep yet, so, and I try not to swear anyways. But it's pretty easy for me to swear because I'm talking to a camera with no followers. It's probably gonna be funny when I watch it 5 years from now, though, I'll tell you that. Alright. So, I don't know if my proportions from left to right are gonna really line up, but I did want to go ahead and get like an initial concept. So if you're just seeing this because you didn't know about me or my story at all, this is my intention of having a concept photo for a book I intend to write about my life. First book's going to detail my trip through like childhood to the Marine Corps, through fighting the war, to become an electrical engineer, work a couple jobs, to developing golf for illness, so then the 5-year, 4.5-year quest to get a diagnosis. And what I'm hoping to do is, I'm not seeking fame or fortune. I know I'm going to have to seek some of that to complete what I really want to do. But what I really want to do is I want to make sure that the next guy that has this doesn't have to go through the same things I did, because some of them are really rough, especially when you have a mind that is very fragmented, where your inability to focus and I guess sort of stay on task really makes it challenging to do things, and you're really relying on your doctor in that condition a lot. And if they don't know anything about it, then you know you're gonna hear things like, you need to wash your face and get a job. But I'm not talking about the VA tonight. We are going to relax and be mellow. So I have an approximate center line here, and remember, I'm not a professional, so if you actually watch this and are able to draw something cool, like maybe half of your boot camp photo, or maybe like half your high school photo and who you are now, that's really fucking awesome. And I swore, I apologize. But yeah, whatever. Oh my god. I'm just not going to be used to this whole talking to a camera thing. So okay, so I know at the top I'm going to have 4 letters, so I'm going to start with the middle 2, just to try and give me an idea for the spacing. So there is an N and a C. And then over here I'm going to give myself an O and an E. And this is just my initial thing. You know, when I start adding colors, I'll try and work out the proportion. And then at the bottom here, I'm going to start with, I'm going to start over here with a W, A. And then for the last 2 letters, I want to go ahead and start curving them up. and eventually I'm gonna want to try and match that font. So just gonna have to be a little loose with my lettering. So that I picked this up from somewhere else? No, this is just something that my medical marijuana stirred in my brain. And yeah, it did save my life. If you're young, really minimize how much you do it. I know you've got, like, you know, in high school you gotta have a ton of drugs to choose from, and marijuana is probably gonna be least of all of them. But you should really be mindful that it's gonna make you, there's this thing called amotival syndrome. It'll make you lazy and you'll start skipping class a lot. And then, well, what happened to me, and I didn't even really smoke a lot of pot. It was, you know, maybe just for a couple of weeks. But yeah, as I spread it out, I stopped showing up to class. And some people think it's the marijuana makes you stupid, and that's not the problem. And I can tell you, as a former Marine, the biggest problem is specifically certain indicas make you lazy. It's called amotival syndrome. And, you know, a Marine can't be lazy. So, but we'll talk about, I'll get into like the whole Marine Corps thing later. Actually, I'll get into the whole pot thing later too. But anyways, so I stopped showing up to class, and I found out that all I needed to graduate was a class in government. So my counselor said, look, if you skip another gym, I was like, well, I didn't know missing gym was a bad thing. She's like, well, you only need like, I think you only need, back then in 1988 when I graduated, you only needed, I think 3 years of gym on your class credits. But she said, because you're a full-time student, and you have to take gym, and if you fail out of gym, that's not gonna help you. And I was like, damn, I thought I just needed that one class. So she's like, well, if you miss like another gym day, they can drop you. And I was like, well, part of the reason I let myself loose is because I knew I was going in the Marines, and I was like, okay, what do we do? And she said, go to night school. So I went to night school. So, and yeah, so that was probably the first, and maybe one of the only times that pot nearly wrecked my life. So, but if you're prone to schizophrenia, that's going to be really bad if to smoke pot. A lot of that schizophrenia, you know, it's like they say it like it develops, I think 16 to 30. And I'm not a doctor, but there is a strange correlation that if you smoke a lot of pot when you're young, you can lead to schizophrenia. And there's all the schizophrenics, I think 80% of them are like below the age of 30. But wow, I was going to research this stuff before I gave you my 90 minutes on cannabis. And so I'm going to get back to drawing. Oh, man. But if you're over the age of 27 and you're using it medically, good for you. If you use it recreationally, you know, as long as you're not doing it more than, you know, maybe once or twice a week, I really don't see an issue with it. Especially if it's part of like an overall thing, like you've got your before dinner drink, then you have your glass of Cabernet or a nice Merlot with your steak, and then after dinner, make sure you have a ride home. But you have yourself like a brandy old fashioned for an after dinner drink, or then took a little bit of well, tonight I'm using a gelato from Gold Leaf. Not paid by anybody, so I'm giving you my honest, unbiased opinion. But the stuff's great for my gulf war illness symptoms too. And we're gonna see if it helps me paint. So my theory here is, you probably heard the phrase, once a Marine, always a Marine. Once, me before a Marine, always me now a Marine. Haha, clever, huh? Okay, so just so I don't want my videos to be too long, oh my, you can't even see the unsin there. Okay, I'll work on that when I come back. But I'm gonna break this thing into smaller chunks. Go ahead, you know, refill that glass of wine. If you're a country dude, then go for a fresh bottle of that Tennessee whiskey, right? But yeah, okay. I'm trying not to get any type of copyright stuff, so. But all right, cool. Pause. If you have to go to sleep, I understand. Godspeed. If you come back, go right back.